Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. On today's podcast, I am talking to Sally Cranham, who is a utilities consultant from Current Utilities. So, Sally, welcome to Electric Evolution. I'm really pleased to see you again. We've met a couple of times, never face to face. We've always met like this, haven't we? But
we have. It's all been online.
One day we will meet.
Yeah, and I'll be shorter than you think, and you'll be taller than I think, and you know.
I'll probably be wider than you think as well. So don't worry about it. Anyway, right, so start off with, can I get you just to kind of give a little bit of background to who you are, what you do and how you got into what you are currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. This is great. I think the more that people are speaking about all of this sort of stuff, the better, because there's so much confusing information out there. Yeah, so I started Current Utilities about a year ago, but previous to that, I really just started as a residential consultant with Utility Warehouse. So I was learning a lot about the residential market, helping people simplify, save, and also look at some of the green options as well. So Utility Warehouse is who I use for my residential consultancy. And then I use Full Power Utilities for any commercial business energy utility needs as well. And I got into it mainly because I came back from America and I ended up back in the UK, and I got introduced to Utility Warehouse, and it's a social marketing kind of business. And I thought that could be really a great tool for me, especially just coming back from the States. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and everything went online. Utility Warehouse acted very quickly to get everything online, because the one thing that people did have was a bit more time, was spending a lot more time at home, and could sort of reassess what actually living at home looked like. You know, they were using their home more, they were using more energy at home, and despite us having great weather that year of the first bit of the pandemic, you know, people were using air conditioning, whatever they were doing, they were getting to know their house more. And I was able to help people, a couple of customers a month, and I learned a lot through the process as well with that, especially.
So the work that you do, just explain a little bit about it, will you?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the residential side of things, Utility Warehouse have everything I need online. So I bring in all the data I need from the resident. We look at not only energy, but there'll be broadband and other utilities as well. I look at the usage, I look at the standing day rate, you can look at the unit rate. Now, so much has happened in the last 2 years. I mean, the last 6 months, when it comes to what those rates actually look like. I mean, there's no such thing as a fixed rate right now, because the government have done that. And then I sit with my customer and I look across the whole board what their consumption is like compared to the averages, and give them guidance in a few tools that they could use to maybe cut that usage a bit. But ultimately, you know, Utility Warehouse, they have the cheapest energy on the market right now, which is a big claim, but they do. And they're the only ones taking new customers as well. So for the state of the energy market, especially, I think it says a lot about the company and the way they've handled things in the last couple of years, especially.
So other companies aren't allowing new customers then? What, just because of the fear of the market rates at the moment?
It's hard to take on anyone new. I'm not saying this is from what I've been told, and you go onto some of the comparison websites and there's just not much there, because you can't do much with the prices, you know, because the government has set those those borders of what people can charge, what companies can charge. And because utility warehouse are multi-service, they're able to draw in savings from other little places, and then, you know, we give up to 5% off the government price cap anyway. So it's kind of a no-brainer to look at it, but that's a side note, really. I know that places like Octopus and you know, Bulb's been in its own conversation with all that's been going on there. But, you know, you've got a lot of small companies that in that beginning of 2020 all the way through to 2021, I think we went from like 47 suppliers down to in the 20s. Loads of small companies were disappearing.
I mean, I was going to say, we're lucky that we kind of we're with Octopus and we locked in. This is not something that we normally do, but my husband locked us in until next June. So actually we've kind of got our rate until next June. But obviously there's things that we want to do as a family, you know, kind of in the meantime to make sure that we're kind of being more sustainable. So on our long-term aim is, you know, I mentioned this to you before, didn't I, to get air source heat pumps and solar panels and an electric vehicle. But it's not something we can do overnight because we just don't have that money to kind of to play with at the moment. So how would you say that somebody kind of not necessarily in our situation, because we're probably, you know, in a better situation than some, how do you try and be sustainable in a situation, in a market that we're in at the moment? What can you do? What can we do in our houses at the moment to save energy? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I definitely have some thoughts on that. And just to sort of tag off what you've just said there, I think, and what you're doing here on the podcast, it's the education piece. It really is. And as you say, people are wanting to be more green. There is the desire there. The media is all over it. The government's all over it. Whatever you think about Greta Thunberg, anybody is over it. You know, we're all trying to gather pieces of information. And they say that, you know, funding the changes in your home to solar and EV and all of those things would cost up to about 20 grand, if not more. Side of your house. So yeah, I totally understand that it's just not, it's not possible for people to just do that straight away, but there are things that people can be doing. LED lights, if you haven't looked at all of your light bulbs in your house and you've just got a few that are still working off the old system, they're sucking up energy, they're using a lot of energy. I mean, I grew up in a house, and this was before we had a crisis of energy, where switch off the lights when you leave a room. You know?
I did.
30 years.
I know what you're saying.
Exactly. And we were conscious about it then, but it's so interesting where we are now. Of course, there's energy efficient like appliances for the home, but just even putting them fully off instead of on standby can make a big difference. I think it's about seeing the very little things. They look very little, but they add up. That's the key to it all. We were talking a little bit before about the it's a plastic double glazing basically that you can do at home. It's a weatherproofing kind of thing that you stick around the whole frame, and then it's like this film that you put on there, and then you hair dryer it
on your window.
On like around the frame, and then it becomes a taut extra layer on your windows, which I just think is brilliant. I mean, I was using that in a drafty house 10 years ago, so that's really good. And then something that a lot of companies now offer, of course, are the smart meters.
We've just got one.
Oh, have you?
Oh my God, every time we put the kettle on, we're kind of going to see, right, how much is it costing us? And my husband will be sat, because we just happen to have it where we usually sat in the dining room, and we kind of go, right, what's turned on now? So, and we make sure we do turn things off, like the telly at night, because you know, like tellies these days, they seem to automatically just go on standby, don't they? Rather than being able to turn them off. So we got a new telly because we had a lightning strike a few months ago on the close where we're living, and it blew our telly, it blew quite a few things in the close broadband wristband, you name it, just so much stuff. But so we've got this new telly, and now you can't turn it off. So luckily we can get to the plug socket to turn it off at night. But when we watch, honestly, it's kind of one of those things that going, how are we spending 45p? You know, we're trying to go around trying to turn things off. And so it is things like that, because the smart meter, it might not be 100% accurate, but it does make a difference, doesn't it? To actually be able to see what energy you're using when you put the kettle on, or when you have the toaster on, or even, you know, when you've got the dishwasher or the washing machine and things like that. And it's just looking at those costs on a daily basis, isn't it?
It's totally the awareness thing, the consumer habits that just need that small tweak. And I think that's why smart meters really started to make people think more, because exactly that. They were seeing that if they went for a shower, oh my goodness, it just cost them £1.49, you know, whatever it was. And that's more now. If you the energy prices have doubled since last Christmas. Is
it double? My goodness, I knew it had gone up a lot. Goodness me.
You know, from 2021 to 2022, it's been a drip feed of the increase. But now we look at it as a whole, that's a huge amount of money. That's a huge shift of.
I know.
It's crazy. It blows my mind.
That's why I'm so glad we're locked in. But I mean, after we, you know, this is the whole reason why, you know, kind of looking at other sustainable sources, or because as I've told you, I'm married to a professor of climate change at Reading Uni. So it's really important for us as a family, but not just a family, but for me personally, I'm a business improvement training consultant. So actually, I want to make sure that we're making these improvements as a family, and that we're being sustainable, because it's the right thing to do. But again, financially, it's not doable for everyone. So it's little things, isn't it? You know, like I know you're saying about the stuff around the window. My husband was kind of, so we got a new front door last year, and that's made a massive difference, because that was horrendous. The old door just used to shake in the frame when my teenage son kind of went out banging the door, and the whole thing would go good, and it was just like, oh my god, you know. But we've got the new front door, but we're going to hopefully get some new windows. But again, like I say, if people can just do little things, you know. Or do you know if are there any subsidies for insulation anymore? Because there used to be a little while ago, didn't there?
I don't fully know, but I do believe there are still some on the government website for insulation, for the double glazing thing. I mean, to be honest, if they're encouraging everybody to try and achieve all the goals that they're trying to achieve, there's
got to be something, hasn't there?
There's got to be help. We live in a country where we have houses that are hundreds of years old. It's not like America, where they've built these cardboard houses that, you know, are reasonably better, well insulated than the average UK home. I mean, I'm at my dad's house right now. It's a huge house. It's very old. It's very, you know, it's not got double glazing.
No, and they're difficult to heat, aren't they, as well? Because that's the other thing about being in a house, you know, that's that old. Even our house is from the 1950s, but you know, it does let out, you know, if even with an air source heat pump, from what I understand about those, and I'm going to be talking to people about that as well over the course of the podcast. Even air source heat pumps, you need to be insulated in the first place. But I think the biggest thing is to keep the heat in, is to try and find ways of insulating and making sure that you've got no drafts coming in. But it's not always that easy. But my husband's got like this little infrared thermometer thing. So he's going to go around the house. We've decided he's going to go around the house, and actually, when it's first thing in the morning, it's really cold, and work out if you can see which, you know, where the drafts are coming in.
Yeah. Okay. They have those cameras, don't they, outside of homes, that you can see where the heat is leaking as well. Which I think all of those industries, and you're seeing it as well, because a lot of these industries that have started as green companies or offer these green, you know, initiatives, they're hot topic, and they're growing quickly. And here they are, and they're, you know, that's when you go in and help people figure out their systems. But all of these companies are in a space of exponential growth, because everybody is researching, you know, what are the top few things on Google, I'd be really interested to have a look.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got from, we're near, oh my God, I can't believe we're nearly in December. If people are watching this or listening to this now, we're recording this in November, and it's actually, I can't believe it feels like it should still be June, but it's just kind of we've got 7 years, haven't we, to get to net zero 2030. Yeah. And at the moment, while we're talking, COP27 is on. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be some good things come out of that. But we've got 7 years, so all of these companies that are introducing clean energy initiatives and electric vehicle and electrification, it's going to grow massively. So yeah, it is going to be a hot topic. It's going to keep being a hot topic. Get your teeth in. A hot topic for 7 years to come. Yeah, and it's about understand. My aim of this podcast is to try and get this information out to people, what they can do, even if it's something small, that because actually in the long term, it's going to make a difference to them and their families. Absolutely. Or them and their businesses.
And also back in the day, when you put solar in, they would say then you'll get your money back in 25 years. Yeah. Well, now it's as low as 4 years. Depending on the situation, that time frame has shortened so much. And with all the big things going on with governments and all of that, that's fine. But we're the ones at home paying for our energy on a day-to-day basis. Yes, it's about education. I don't think it's about guilt tripping. I just think it's about the education piece. And that horrible term that's going around, but some of the companies that do exist are greenwashing. They're saying they're doing something, but in reality it's very small. I think that's what I've liked about Utility Warehouse, is their new brand ambassador is Ben Fogel. So that's brilliant, isn't it? He's just got a passion for that environmental sustainable energy thing anyway. And as a company, for them to choose someone like that, I just think it sort of tells me a little bit how they work behind the scenes as well, getting a decent chap involved with that sort of thing. And as a company with Utility Warehouse, we can offer up to 100% renewable energy, depending on, the bundles that you take and things like that. And there are companies doing it. I know that people like Octopus have certain deals for electric vehicles, and so do we. It really is just about education and seeing what's best for you and what's the best fit.
Education is really important when it comes to this, because like I say, there's such a lot of information out there and it's hard to break through the noise sometimes. And like I said, even being married to who I'm married to and doing what I do as a job, it's still a bit like, oh my God, I want to be able to understand and educate not just myself, but my family, my business, and other people. And if we can all learn from that, then we're all starting to kind of stepping forward. It's what we call, I don't know whether you can see behind my head, I've got a little thing called Kaizen, which is basically small changes. It's all about, it's a Japanese word for small improvements. So and that's what it's about. That's what we should be trying to do.
Yeah. Now, I 100% agree with you, Liz.
So let me just check if I'm sure I've got other questions to ask you, and I could probably chat to you for absolutely ages. So okay. So actually, do you know what I'd like to ask you is, so if people do want to switch, so obviously we're, like I said to you, we're locked in until June next year, but if there are people that want to switch, how do they come to you to switch? What would they need to do in order to kind of move? How can move to you and Utility Warehouse? How do they contact you in the first place?
Well, I have a website, currentutilities.co.uk, and I'm on Instagram and all of those kinds of things, and it really is as simple as a quick phone call. Send me your energy bill, mainly because I need to look at your consumption figures, estimated annual usage, all of that sort of thing. And then I gather details from other things you're spending out money on. So your broadband, your mobiles, your insurances, things like that. And then we just sort of look at the bigger picture and see what the savings could be the more that you put under the Utility Warehouse umbrella. When you take all the services, you're getting guaranteed 100% renewable energy. and they plant a tree for every customer that joins. They work with the Woodland Trust, but they're also sort of very passionate about like enhancing the biodiversity of areas. And we live in a world where it's full circle, right? as your company is.
Funny that, isn't it?
But it's full circle. Everything impacts everything else, and as you say, it's those small things. So yeah, I'm just available on an email or a quick call, and you send me your bills, and then we have a quick chat, and you could be switched over within 20 minutes. So, and also the companies are much quicker at switching providers now, like 2 to 5 days. It used to be you'd have to wait a month, but now it's much shorter, which is good.
Oh, brilliant. So you basically you look at the kind of the lowest rate that that consumer can get then.
Yeah, and I also discuss their usage. So I walked into a house in the middle of summer that had all their lights on, and I was like, okay. And then they have underfloor heating, and
on in summer.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have it all on, but they didn't have a concept of what all those things might mean and how it might impact their bill. And I know that sounds a bit silly, but they just weren't thinking about it. Now, I do live in an area which is quite affluent, so I'm dealing with people that have swimming pools or hot tubs or
lovely,
fucking the life, the energy that it takes to run these things.
Yeah.
So I do go in with my big pink bright jumper and my bolshy self, and I say, guys, let's just have a look at this in a bigger picture kind of way, and try and change a few habits, and
And that, do you know what, you've just hit the nail on the head. Besides education, it is about habit changing, isn't it? It's like us, like I say, turning off the electrics, at night as much as we can. And I mean, we kind of had to do that once we got hit by lightning. It sort of put us off a little bit.
Only you could have used that lightning energy, put it into a battery, and then sponsored your whole village's, energy for the next year.
It would have been great. Great, honestly. Goodness me. But yeah, there's so, I think there are lots of things that we can actually do. But listen, I wanted to just say thank you ever so much for your time. So I'll put all the contact details on so this is going to be on YouTube, and it'll also be audio podcast. So I will provide all your details. If there's anything else you want to share, then just let me know, and I'll do that once it's live. So thank you, Sally.
Chatting again, that would be lovely. We'll chat again
definitely.
See where we're at. Maybe soon.
Exactly. And we've also got singing in common, but you do it more professionally, don't you? So
that's another story.
Thank you then. Cheers. Bye. You've been watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon, and you'll receive all of our weekly videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon.